And here for the Pacific Division, when it comes to my predictions this upcoming season, you can see the teams on the board in the Pacific Division. If you guys are new to hockey, most of you probably aren't. You should probably know who is in the Pacific Division as I take a look here. Anaheim, San Jose, Vancouver, Calgary, Seattle, LA, Edmonton, and then the Vegas Golden Knights. And it's going to be definitely a battle this year for sure. I think, it's going to be quite an interesting year overall, I think. So I'm just moving the teams over to my right, and then we'll pop up here my predictions for where they were last year, or where they were last year. I can see on my right. On my left is the board where I think that they're going to finish this year, and it is in particular order. So we've got the board pulled up here. We can talk about teams really quickly. A little breakdown. Anaheim Ducks were last place in the division last year, finished the year off. Let's see here, 23-47 and 12 for 58 points. One of the worst teams in the NHL. And moving forward this year, they are definitely lacking some depth. They brought in some veteran talent with Alex Killorn. They brought in Racco Gudis as well, which I thought were good additional pieces to add to the team. But overall, I don't see where this team improves too much. With 58 points last year being their high, I think they do a little bit better than that when it comes to where I think they will get the points done. But I'm starting off with this team in this video, not being too super discreet about it, because I do think that they are going to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. Maybe not as bad as last year, but I've got them 8th in the Pacific. I don't see them doing any better than that. Maybe 7th, depending on who they beat out for the better of the worst teams, if you want to put it that way. I do think there will be some bright spots for this team. Troy Terry, Mason McTavish, Leo Carlsson if he makes the team and plays. I think Adam Henrique will have a solid year as well. Trevor Zegras, they still haven't gotten a deal done with him, and I think that's a little concerning because he probably wants a long-term deal, but they probably only want to give him a bridge deal or vice versa. Who knows exactly what's going to happen? Does John Gibson stay? Are they able to play good defense? I don't see it with the Ducks, but again, bright spots. Terry, I think, is going to have a fun year to watch. McTavish, Zegras, whenever they get him signed, and then most importantly, Carlson, I think, will be fun if he does indeed make the team, but I do have them finishing last in the division for the Pacific. Second to last, it was kind of a toss-up between two teams as I'm looking at it right now. Where they finished last year is pretty much where I think they'll finish this upcoming season, but it's really depending on the order in which I want to do it, and I think it will be the order it was last year. Second to last in the division, I think they've got a long way to go for their rebuild. Mike Greer's got a lot to do with that, but I think he'll eventually make it work, as the Sharks were definitely a tough team to play in the past. And again, yes, we are talking about the San Jose Sharks. They are my next worst team for the division. I think they will finish 7th in the Pacific. Again, losing Carlson, their top player. They do still have, I guess, if you want to call it, depth. They still have Hurdle. They still have Couture. LeBanc. They got Mike Hoffman. Anthony Duclair, I think, will be interesting to see how he does, if he's going to be a piece that's moved at the trade deadline or not. Philip Zadina, another interesting player that they were able to bring in. Oscar Lindbaum, I'm pretty sure he was there last year, if I'm not mistaken. But they're also a little old on the back end for my liking. Mark-Edward Vlasic, probably not a great contract for the type of player he is now. Ferraro, I think, will be an interesting player and what he can do this upcoming season. Jan Ruda, they were able to get him in on that deal with the Penguins for that Carlson. And other than that, Kakinen and Blackwood are the goaltenders. I think it's going to be a long, tough road for this team this upcoming year. Last year, they finished with 60 points. I think anywhere from 60 to 65 is a realistic spot for the San Jose Sharks. I don't see it happening this year. The lack of depth, I think they have maybe 2 lines of competent forwards in the NHL. William Eklund, I think, will be the biggest bright spot for them this upcoming season. If you want to watch their games, watch for him. William Eklund, mark it down. Dude's going to be an absolute stud in the NHL years to come. But I think this year will kind of be a little bit of a learning curve if he does make the team. And if he does, anywhere from 40 to 50 points, I think would be a successful season for him personally. But overall, as a team, I don't expect too many big years. Maybe Hurdle surprises a lot of people. Maybe they play Hurdle with Eklund and maybe Zadina, or I don't know how their lines are going to shake up, but definitely going to be interesting to see what they do this upcoming season with the team that they specifically have. Getting into it now, I'm just taking a look at the time. We might need to speed up my breakdowns of each team and who I think is going to finish where. Next up on the list, I've got the Vancouver Canucks. I have them finishing 6th in the division, which is where they finished last year. I do see potential for improvement. They did get the new coaching staff in there, which will be interesting. I'm trying to find... There they are, Vancouver Canucks. Overall, I think they will do a little bit better this upcoming season. Not too much. They finished last year with a total of 83 points, which wasn't terrible. So I expect them around 78 to 85. Again, them finishing 6th this year. I feel like that's going to be spot on the money. JT Miller, Elias Pettersson, will they have big years? It's a contract year for Pettersson. Brock Besser, Kuzmenko, can they keep it up? Garland, I know he had a kind of a struggling year coming over from the Coyotes. Can he step it up? Can Bolivier have a solid contract year on the back end? New captain, Captain Hughes, Quinn Hughes, will he be able to put it together on the back end and maybe have a big year, potentially anywhere from 80 to 90 points if he can stay healthy? I think that's definitely something that can happen. Thatcher Demko, can he get it done between the pipes? I know he's kind of been their missing piece the last couple of years of, I thought he was supposed to be a good goalie, but with injuries and just not great defense in front of him, it's kind of hard to stop the puck all the time when you're getting peppered with like 30 to 38 shots a game. I feel like that's not a recipe for success for any team and any goaltender whatsoever. So I have them slotted in at 6th this upcoming season. Next up on the list for teams, this is definitely a tough one that I'm kind of going back and forth on. I think this team's going to bounce back, but as of right now, I'm taking the chalk of how they finished last year, and that is the Calgary Flames. I think they will finish 5th in the division this upcoming season, just like they did last year. Finished off the year with 93 points. They did miss out on the playoffs by 2 points below the Winnipeg Jets. It's going to be interesting to see how life is without Daryl Sutter as their head coach of their hockey team. I'm really interested to see what they can do. Honestly, the biggest key points this year, can Huberdeau finally get back to what he did his last year in Florida? I think that is the big key. Same with Mackenzie Weegar. Can they get back to form? And if they can, this team is definitely deep enough to make a push for the playoffs. You've got Kadri, Backlund, Coleman, Lindholm, Sharon Govich. They were able to get, which I think is huge, Dylan Dubé, Marjapani. There's a lot of good pieces now. Hannafin, Anderson, Tanev. They have one of the deepest back ends in the NHL. You've got Markstrom and Vladar between the pipes. So I think sky's the limit for the Flames. I think they could make the playoffs. I just don't think they will. I still think there's going to be a little bit of getting used to things without Sutter, but maybe they prove us wrong and they go on a crazy run to the playoffs, almost like the Florida Panthers did at the end of the season last year. So that's my 5th team for the Pacific Division. Next up, this is a really tough one. It's between 2 teams, really. And I'm going chalk again. It's going to be the Seattle Kraken. I think this year, the cat's out of the bag. Teams know who they are. They know what they're about. They know what they're getting themselves into when they're going to play this team. As I'm going to pull them up, I got to find them first. Seattle Kraken. Look for that logo, baby. But I think cat's out of the bag. Burakovsky, I think he will be back this year better than ever, fully healthy and recovered, which I think will be a huge get for them to have him back in the lineup. Jordan Eberle, Schwartz, Bjorkstrand, Gord, McCann, Wenberg, Tanev, Yamamoto, Tolov. I mean, you can go down the list. I haven't even said Matty Beniers yet, and they are just so deep They don't necessarily have any superstars, but they are definitely super, super deep when it comes to their depth. You can roll any line out there, and it will go against any top 3 lines that any NHL team has and be competitive with it. Not necessarily saying that they won't have their struggles, but this team is deep. On the back end, you've got Dunn, Alexiak, Larson, Dumoulin, Schultz, Borgen, Fleury, and Megna. And then between the pipes, I think, is the biggest question mark. You've got Grubauer, Dreger, and they also have Decor, Joey Decor. I think Grubauer's health is probably going to be the biggest question mark for the season. And if he's able to have that injury help and not get hurt this upcoming year, I think sky's the limit for the Seattle Kraken. They finished last year with 100 points. Fully expect them to be around that mark and make the playoffs this upcoming season. But should be interesting for sure how they do. That's the 4th team, I think, in the Pacific Division and where they will finish. Up next, 3rd place for what I think will happen, LA Kings. We're taking chalk once again from how they finished last year. LA, I know we talked about them a little bit in the Global Series and how they did, how they looked. I don't really need to say too much else other than keep an eye out on Kevin Fiala. This guy's going to be an absolute stud this upcoming season. I expect anywhere from 85 to 95 points. Pierre-Luc Dubois, I think, will be one of the bigger stories for them. Coming over, seeing if he fits into the team. Anze Kopitar, can he lead them to a deep Stanley Cup playoff run? And I keep your eye out for Byfield. I think he might have a sneaky good year, maybe 50 to 60 points. That's a hot take. Let me know what you guys think. But the LA Kings, I've got slotted in as my 3rd team in the Pacific. And finally, this is where we do get some change, and it is in the Pacific Division. It is the not the LA Kings. God, I saw the LA Kings and I was looking at them. But number 2 team, I think this upcoming year, are your defending Stanley Cup champions, the Vegas Golden Knights. I think a little bit of a hangover, Stanley Cup hangover from this past season will take effect on the Vegas Golden Knights. Yes, they are extremely deep. They have so much talent. It's just a matter of, can they stay healthy? And if they don't stay healthy, can their depth help them stay afloat and in a playoff position throughout the year? I think yes is the answer to that if it does happen. But you've got Eichel, Stone, Carlson, Marchessault, Barbashev, which they were able to keep around, Waugh, Stevenson, Howden, Carrier, Kolasar. I mean, the list goes on and on with their depth. And on the back end, one of the most stout defenses in the entire NHL. Pietrangelo Martinez, Theodore McNabb, Whitecloud, Haig, Hutton, and I can't say that last guy's last name. And then between the pipes, I think Adin Hill and Thompson. Adin Hill obviously proved himself during the playoffs last year that he is a competent NHL goalie. I think if they stay healthy, there's no case in the matter of them not being able to have the chance to repeat. I think there's a strong possibility that they could win the Western Conference, but I think a lot of things need to fall their way and go throughout the season for that to happen. But Vegas, I think they'll finish 2nd in the division this upcoming season, which only leaves one more possible team, and that is the two-headed monster of McDavid and Draisaitl and the Edmonton Oilers. I think that they will win the division this upcoming season. I think now's the time. I know there have been reports where the team's showing up early, doing captain skates before training camp even gets going. This team is just too top heavy to not make a run or at least play for a Stanley Cup this upcoming season. Again, you've got McDavid, Draisaitl, you've got Hyman, Kane, Nugent-Hopkins, and then it kind of drops off after that when it comes to skill. But this upcoming year, you've got Evander Kane who's going to be fully healthy. I think that'll be a huge difference maker. On the back end, you will have a full year with Ekholm. I think Nurse being potentially fully healthy. He didn't have the best of years last year. I think he will have a big step-up year this year. Evan Bouchard will have another prove-it year this year to potentially earn him a future contract. Goaltending is the question mark for me when it comes to the Edmonton Oilers, but I think Jack Campbell and Stuart Skinner can be a competent duo where if one has to carry the other for a little bit, maybe like a 5 to 8 game period, I think they can do that, but they will definitely need them both throughout the season if they want to make a run in the playoffs for a Stanley Cup. That is the Pacific Division. I want to know what you guys think down below or in the comments right now in the live chat, what you guys think about my seedings for the Pacific Division. We've got right here, starting from bottom to top, Ducks, Sharks, Canucks, Flames, Kraken, Kings, Knights, and then the Edmonton Oilers I have winning the division. I don't, however, have them winning the Western Conference. That is just my take, but I want to know what you guys think about the Pacific Division.